Hello, Tech Forum attendees. I'm Carol Gordon, Project Manager for the CataList project here at BookNet, and I'm happy to be here to talk to you today about the CataList project generally and some of the great new features that were implemented in CataList this fiscal year that's just wrapping up. I will also preview some of the things that we'll be working on over the coming year. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. An acknowledgement that will be personal to each one of us due to the virtual nature of this platform and the wide range of locations that people are joining from today. I'm broadcasting today from the Treaty 18 lands on traditional territories of the Chippewa, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat Indigenous peoples. I would encourage you to visit the native-land.ca website to learn more about the peoples whose lands you are listening from today. So first off, I wanted to recap some of the stats from this year. So at the time of this presentation, we're a few weeks shy of the end of the year, but the numbers are nonetheless pretty positive, and I'd like to share some of those. So we now have over 675,000 ISBNs that are published on the system, and that's an increase of about 80,000 ISBNs over last year. So that's a pretty big increase. It includes the addition of 10 new publisher accounts this year, and of course the current subscribers, regular, seasonal, new title additions. But a large portion of that increase is also a result of some distribution changes that have brought more publisher titles to CataList via their distributors. And we're also seeing a significant uptick in newly added backlist listings from existing subscribers. And that's great news because we're hearing from more and more library and retailer accounts that having the active backlist available in CataList is a real benefit to them in the way that they want to use the system for purchasing, acquisitions, and collection development. So in addition to the 10 publisher accounts that I did mention earlier, we're also continuing to see strong growth in new account signups from libraries and retailers. So 104 new retailers so far this year. So this is continuing to be the largest account growth area for us in terms of new signups. So we're continuing to see new booksellers that are entering the market and sign up from established booksellers. But I think the largest sector for us here continues to be in the gift and specialty markets. And there's a clear value for subscribing publishers to provide easy access to their catalogs through CataList to these accounts. Smaller accounts. And at the same time, CataList can help to fill the gaps that many of these accounts have in terms of their access to ordering tools for book product. So I think that's really where we're seeing that growth. There were also 12 new library or school accounts this year. It doesn't seem like as substantial a number as what we are seeing in the overall retailer signups, but there are a few things to maybe keep in mind here. That some of these accounts can be larger. It's library regions or school boards with multiple users representing schools or branches. And I don't have specific numbers to share with you on this today, but I want to mention it because it's an important kind of site usage analytic that we'll be really watching closely over the coming year. And that is some increased usage of CataList for sourcing English book product by the schools and libraries in Quebec. So these accounts are becoming more familiar with the CataList system functionality through their use of an adapted version of the site that the BTLF in Quebec is using for their Memento project. So all of those accounts and users of Memento automatically have access to CataList, where they can use the CataList tools to search for English titles by subject, publisher, keyword, date range, Canadian authorship, all the things you can do in CataList search system. And then they can build orders that they can place through their accredited retailers directly in the CataList system. So it's a really handy tool for them, and they're already familiar with using it from their usage of Memento. So again, here's one of the places where I'm going to make an ask for our subscribing publishers to continue to list their active backlist. So we're really seeing an uptick in requests from clients that are asking for specific titles in the backlist that they want to order, that they'd really like to see those added to CataList. So buyers looking for the information, we'd love to see more of it. So moving on from those stats, we can talk a little bit about what's new, the fun stuff. So in terms of development for the fiscal year, the majority of our CataList development really stayed centered this year around two major feature releases, both of which were largely focused on improvements to the core functionality of catalogs. Our first major release, and this was fairly early in the year, May 2022, this was the addition of support for collaboration on custom catalogs. So previously on a custom catalog, you were restricted on the editing side only to the specific individual who originally created that catalog, and viewing privileges were only available to the creator and the recipients that the creator specifies. And there's still a strong use case for this in the system, the private custom catalogs. For instance, where reps are selling to specific buyers and adding customized content like suggested order quantities. But there was a definite need to expand the range of functionality to allow colleagues to work together on the creation and maintenance of custom catalogs. So the new features allow a catalog creator to set the editorial permissions on a new catalog when they're creating it. And if those editorial permissions need to change in future, this setting can be modified to either allow collaboration on a private catalog or take a collaborative catalog and return it to a private state. So those changes also necessitated some additional work for users' My Page views to allow them to easily see which catalogs were available for collaboration, which of their own catalogs they had made available for collaboration as well. So we added some new filters, new columns here to allow people to hide those catalogs that they were not interested in seeing. The other part of this, of course, with the additional views of catalogs was the performance improvements. We needed to make some performance improvements to handle that larger number of catalogs that individuals could now have access to. And I would say that it is a good thing that we completed that performance work. Just looking at some numbers, I can verify that one account alone, since May, when we released this feature, we've seen the addition of 750 collaborative type catalogs in addition to their private catalogs that we're still continuing to be created. So we're definitely seeing some usage and uptake on these collaborative catalogs. So it's pretty exciting for us. So there's one additional major change that we made in this feature set. And that was a change to allow account managers to access all of their accounts catalogs. So over time, many accounts had built up lists of custom catalogs that were owned by users who had moved on to other job roles in the company or onto other companies. And it was always difficult to determine who had posted a custom catalog, for example, to a publisher page, or to remove those as they became out of date. So the new feature that we implemented at the same time here was to allow only those users with the account manager top level permissions within an account to be able to view and modify any of the custom catalogs that were associated with their account. So next up, while we were working on our plans and specs for the other major feature I'll talk about in a minute, we also did continue introducing a number of smaller features throughout the year. So one of those, and though we haven't made a lot of fanfare about it, I think it's a really useful usability improvement. And so I wanted to mention it here. And this is color coding for the product availability status. This is actually something that we've adapted from a request from that Quebec market, who had a similar feature in their previous tool set. And we wanted to bring that into CataList as well, because it really does make it easy to see at a glance the status of a title. So this is based on the product availability field from the ONIX data that we received from suppliers. And there is some mapping that's happening here to a simplified list. There's like 40 codes for availability in ONIX. So we've simplified that to a list of 4 statuses: forthcoming, available, temporarily unavailable, and unavailable. So for And that mapping, we do have that available in our user documentation. I'm happy to send that to anyone who would like the details. So for those who haven't noticed this feature on the site yet, you'll see it appear in supply detail on the title detail page for every title in the system. You'll also see it in grid views for catalogs and search results when that availability column has been added as a custom column. And I will just throw in a little mention here. It wasn't in the feature this year, but that custom column feature for grids in the system is also still relatively new. So if you haven't checked that out yet, it's that customize columns button in the top right of the table header for any of the grid views. And you can actually choose the custom columns that you'd like to display in that grid. And when you're in the catalog grid view, you can also use those column settings to determine what is included in your Excel exports. So a useful tool if you have not yet seen it. Next up, at the request of our sales reps, we finally added a new order notification system, which includes the order notification emails. So when orders are submitted through the system from retailers or libraries, the system will now generate an order notification to the rep that is tagged on the order. So the emails will include both a link to the order, where you can view it in the system, and an Excel file with the contents of the order. So if you don't want to have to go and log in, you don't have to, you can pull the content of the order directly out of the email. And I'm not showing it on a slide here, but there's also a notification dot that appears in the main navigation bar in the CataList system when you're logged in to alert reps when orders have been submitted. So nice to have those order notification improvements in place. And there have been other small features improvements through this year, particularly around performance and search. But in the interest of time, because I have a very short amount of time to show off all the new things, I want to make sure I get to show our final addition to CataList for this year. So this is the second major core feature improvement for CataList, improvements to core catalog features. And this will be releasing this month. So that's March 2023 if you're watching this in future. But this feature really gives our publishers, reps, buyers, anyone who's managing catalogs or title lists a much easier way to manage the titles in those lists. So we're really excited about this release, and we think it is going to be a game changer for making catalogs easier to manage. So a bit of background. Previously, the only way to delete titles from a catalog was to go to the Organize page in the editing tools, navigate to the title in that grid, click the delete button in the row for that title, and then resave the whole catalog. So the new functionality that we'll be rolling out is bringing this ability directly into all of the catalog views for the catalogs where you have permission to edit. So inside the red box here on the slide, you will see there's the 3 action buttons. So 3 actions available for each of these titles. And obviously you're going to see the buttons for all of the actions that you have permission to perform. So the first one on the left, the sheet with the plus sign. Most users will be familiar with this as our add to catalog function in the current system. So when you're working in a catalog, this button is now called copy. If you hover over it, it's going to say copy when you're in a catalog. But it does exactly what you'd expect. It maintains the title in this catalog that you are viewing. It allows you to copy it or add to catalog, to another custom catalog. So you're just taking a copy of this and adding a copy of it to another catalog. So the second button, the center one, this is a new feature. So this is the sheet with the outward pointing arrow, and the action here is move. This allows you to remove the title from the current catalog and send it to another. Essentially this button is kind of a combination between copy and delete. It's bundling those two functions together. It's allowing you to send a copy of this to another catalog and delete it out of this one. So that's the move action. Logically delete is the red X button that we see at the far right, and I think that'll be familiar to most of our system users. I don't think I need to go into too much detail about what's going to happen there. You're going to delete this title from the catalog. And so to clarify, I'm showing the thumbnail view here, but those three single title action buttons will be available in all of the views of the catalog. So thumbnail, scroll, grid view, you'll always have that option. Whatever your preference is for viewing and working on your catalogs, you'll be able to take advantage of these quick and convenient title management tools in all of those views. So the next question, what do you do when you want to copy, move, or delete multiple titles? So this is actually one of the most exciting things about this feature set. So for larger title sets now, you can use the checkbox system, which again is available in all of the views of the catalog, to select multiple titles that you want to act on and manage them as a group. So when multiple titles are selected, as I'm showing here, I've got two selected in the checkboxes at left, and the system will open a floating menu at the top right of the page. And that's in the red box to the right. So your floating menu is at the top of the page. That'll keep count of how many titles you've selected. It allows you to select all the titles in this catalog with one click. It allows you to clear your selections and then choose the action that you want to apply. I will just make a quick mention that you can minimize that box so that you're just seeing the title selections count without any of the buttons, to kind of minimize what it's blocking. You can also use the grab handles at the top left to move that box around if it's in your way. So that is a click and draggable box. So for copying and moving single titles or multiple titles, the process is very similar. It's very similar to that current add to catalog process. So we have, though, updated the form. If anyone's used add to catalog, this will look familiar, but it is changed it up a little bit. We've just made this form a little easier to use, made it more obvious how to create a new catalog with the titles you've selected and to scroll through the list of possible destinations. The search feature there is still there as well. If you want to have a long list of destination catalogs possible that you can search for a specific one. The other kind of final change in this feature set is that we've changed the confirmation messaging a little bit so that you can easily navigate to the catalog that you've sent the titles to. So if you're creating a new custom catalog with the title or titles you've selected, you'll be able to just navigate directly to that catalog from the confirmation message. Same thing if you are using, copy, whether you're using copy or move, you'll be able to go to the copy or move for new catalogs you created. And also if you are sending those titles to an existing catalog, you'll just be able to navigate to that destination catalog easily. So we're pretty excited about that. We think these functions are going to be a really huge improvement for all of our users, and we're really excited to be getting these out to you before the end of this fiscal year. So there's only a few weeks left, so you can look for those soon if you haven't seen them yet. So what is on the horizon for CataList? So we're, of course, still working regularly with our user group, with the feedback that we get from our customer surveys and the messages that come in directly to our team, to try and make sure that we're delivering the most necessary improvements first as things change over time. So we don't have our full list of what we're doing, everything that'll be in this year just yet, but there are a few things that we know will be coming up in this year. So first is the upcoming transition of accounts in CataList to move over to use their ONIX 3 data. So CataList is in the final testing stages for the ONIX 3 ingestion. So we will be looking to start transitioning clients over probably this summer. So that's summer 2023. We've already started reviewing client data for readiness, and we'll be continuing that through the spring and feeding back information to publishers about any of the issues that we identify. So how that transition is going to happen, we're working out all of the details, the final details here, but it will be an account by account transition. And support for ONIX 2.1 will continue for the foreseeable future. So there's no need to panic if you're still relying on the ONIX 2.1 feeds. But over time, I think you're going to find that the publishers who are supplying us with ONIX 3 are going to begin to see more of their content supported in CataList that just can't be supplied in the ONIX 2.1 versions. So if you're interested in learning more about how CataList is mapping ONIX 3 into the system, I put a bit.ly link in the slide that links to our detailed ONIX mapping documentation. And again, we're happy to have any conversations about ONIX 3. We do offer education and support on the ONIX 3 standard through BookNet as well. So we're pretty excited to see this transition start to happen, and we're happy to answer any questions you have about it. Beyond that, there's a few items that we know are remaining at the top of our users' priority lists generally. And so we have these on our radar for this year, including the ability to post and control access to full F&Gs for kids' books. That's been a standing top priority for a little while. So once we wrap up these current final bits of our direct actions and catalogues feature, we'll be moving on to look at this feature. We will also have some additional search improvements happening this year as we get more people looking at backlist, more additions of backlist. We'll be looking at continuing to improve the search features, including for search, the ability to surface accessible ebooks more easily. So we'll have some search features related to that. Performance, this is an ongoing commitment to continue improving performance across the site. So we'll definitely be keeping that top of mind as we move through and look at other features. I expect we'll see some other, smaller features and ongoing improvements through the year. So sign up for our newsletter to keep on top of the new features. Send that about 9 times a year. So, and we will always let you know when we have new features to talk about. So thanks for attending today. I hope you've seen some things today that you're excited about. We're happy to hear any of your feedback on this year's new feature set and the things that you'd like to see in CataList in future. So you can reach out to me, or better yet, get in touch with the team here at CataList at BookNetCanada.ca. Thank you.